Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You're back with us at the Safe Space. We took a break last week. Yes, that was me in Miami, sweating like a hog, and it was amazing. Glad you guys came back with us, man. We got a special episode today. If you're listening right now, I'm pretty sure you've listened to the last couple of our episodes. Please share, like, subscribe, tell your friends to check us out. We are growing, and we want to grow our community and get more interaction with you guys. But today in Georgia on this Saturday afternoon where everybody seems to want to cut their grass, I got some friends around the table with me. Let me introduce Mandy Bugs. How are you?
Hey.
Mezzy.
What's up?
And Dumpling.
What's going on?
And last but not least, we have a super duper special guest today. We have an award-winning author. His first book came out a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. Wow.
Running with Lions.
Right,
I'm sure you've heard of it. It was an amazing book. His newest book is set to be released in
September.
It's called How to Be Remy Cameron. It's a very special guest, one of my favorite people in the world. Very close friend of mine, Julian Winters. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. This is pretty cool. I love the show, so it's great to be on the show.
Hey, thanks, man. We'd love to have you in a safe space. I'm just in awe of the things that you've been doing, bro. Like, for real. All jokes aside, everything. I've been in awe since the first book dropped. I don't know if people know this. I don't know if I'm putting out too much information.
I'm all about the information.
Okay,
Let them know my social security number.
I've been in awe since you quit your job.
Oh, yeah.
When you quit your job and told me I was like, what?
Yeah. who does that?
Yeah. So you used to work at FedEx?
I did.
Okay to tell them?
12 years of it.
As a driver?
No.
That's hard.
Oh
He was a small sort, right?
Yeah. I was in management. Yeah,
He was there 12 years?
Wow.
12 years.
Holy crap. I was there for like, 6 months?
Yeah. It's amazing
And
how
you're like,
time
nah.
flies. Yeah, exactly.
12 years. I didn't know he was there that long.
That's
But yeah, he was
incredible.
there. I was there a brief stint, and then I left and, went on about my life. He was still there doing his thing. Successful. He was moving up and things.
Yeah. I was the manager in charge of training all new managers that were brought on board. So
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I had,
good.
I had an
Managers.
office and everything. It was great.
Wow.
Wow.
And you
yeah.
said, not for me.
Can't
do it.
No.
You had a passion and you wanted to follow it.
Yeah. It just wasn't good mental health wise. It wasn't good physically. So just like no.
And that's what I was like, that's amazing. Like, because he's not doing bad. He has a job. He's doing his thing. But he's going to put this aside and go after what he wants. Now, what I thought at the time was, hey, you need money.
What is he doing?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
money, bro.
Yeah, I did some made some choices there where I don't always recommend that you do, but I did have some money that I could tap into. So
Okay,
I have
yeah.
a very supportive
That's
family.
essential
So
for us.
yeah.
And he
good.
left the job and started working on his books.
Was that before the first one?
Yeah.
Or was that during?
No, it was
I
before.
had started writing the first one, but I didn't have any time. I was working
Yeah.
60 plus hours at FedEx.
Takes so much time.
Yeah, it's so consuming.
It really is.
Yeah,
So the book wasn't all the way done. It wasn't anything
No.
like
It was in a form. We'll put it that way. it was season 1 Dragon Ball Z Goku. That's what it was.
That's the perfect message.
yeah, that's where
I'm
it
kind of
was.
in that place right now, girly.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
It's so hard.
But you had to take the leap, man. I think I thought that spoke volumes
It's amazing.
to your character, and I was like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it, but you got to do something.
Yeah,
you have to sacrifice something for your dreams. You know what I mean? That's what I saw, and I was like, oh man, this guy is doing something great. So then I was glued. to whatever you were doing. Like, hey, let me see what happens. Is he gonna be calling me for money?
Yeah, I know, right? Listen, it looked good in the first 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And by month 4, it was like,
Something gotta give.
What am I doing?
won't be having Starbucks today. Might
Right.
be just be having water and a piece of lettuce.
Aw.
But,
That's great.
yeah.
So you got this new book coming out in September. Tell us introduce us to Remy Cameron.
It's funny. When you become a writer, you become so good with words. But then when you have to use them like actually talking, you suck at it. So let me see if I can give you a good pitch that doesn't suck. So Remy Cameron is a out and proud student at a school. He's the president of his GSA. He's fairly popular, has a great group of friends and whatnot. He is very comfortable with his family. He's adopted. He's transracial adoptee. So he is black, but he was adopted by a white family. super comfortable in his life in the suburbs of Georgia, and all of a sudden he gets given this paper, this assignment in AP Lit, where he has to give an essay about who he is, which then begins to question, how does he define himself? Because he's always been defined by all these other things. Oh, he's the out and proud gay student. So, oh, yay, there's the gay guy. And then he's one of very few minorities in school. So then there's the black kid. He is raised by a white family. So then he's the adopted kid. So many different labels that he carries that he was so used to having and not realizing it's because everybody else is giving them to him and he's not giving them to himself. So it's kind of exploration of stereotypes, labels, how we use them, how people use labels to define us, how they use labels to take kind of the power from us also, because all of a sudden you become this stereotype. Instead of being proud of who you are, you become what they've said you are, kind of thing. So it has these layers of deepness, but it's still super funny. He's an awkward kid who can't walk 5 steps without falling over, kind of thing. Has a great little romance in it. Fun times. Like I said, it's a great friend group, very diverse group of people in there. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun, but I really had to take a look at, a part of life that people don't always talk about, which is how we let other people define us versus how we define ourselves.
Right.
Oh my
That was
God,
that was a perfect pitch, dude.
absolutely
Oh,
love
thanks,
it.
thanks.
That was
Listen,
great.
I was
Good.
off the cuff.
No,
and
that
I
was
wearing
amazing.
Sleeves
Oh
on.
my God, summarizing
Sounded
your
like I was
novel
reading
is
off
like
the back of
hardest
the
thing in
book.
world. Whenever, because like I'm a writer too, I'm just working on my first novel right now. But whenever people are like, what is your book about?" I'm always like, can you just give me just come back later?
Exactly. Can I just read this real quick?
Right.
But don't tell me it sucks.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
read it and
Yeah,
then you get it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard
It
to
is.
come up with that elevator pitch.
Yeah,
It's
oh
so
my
perfect.
goodness.
That was good.
No,
It was
thank
good.
you.
That was
Hey,
really
and
good.
you know
So
what?
perfect.
I thought I knew what this book was about.
Yeah, because I talked a little bit and you read the excerpt. Yeah, I didn't know.
You gave me, what is it, Read Riot?
Yeah, it was on Book Riot.
Book Riot.
Yeah.
Yeah, on bookriot.com, he sends me the excerpt. I read it, and I'm like, oh, this book is going to be amazing.
Yeah, actually, he sent that to me too.
Oh, that's
It's really
awesome.
good.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
like, but
I
I
don't
thought
think I got it.
from the excerpt, I was like, I know what this book
It was a
is
long
about.
excerpt. It was like
It was a
I
good
just read
chunk
like
of
I
it.
just read like 10 pages.
It was the
but-
part where he
Yeah.
got the assignment. And,
Yes.
and I'm like the dynamic you drew in that little excerpt on bookriot.com, I saw the dynamics of high school playing out in front of me, and I was
I
like,
love
this is so
it.
relatable to any and everybody who's went to high school. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait
Yay.
to read more. Thinking I know what this book is going to be about.
That's
But
the
what
great
you
thing
just
about
explained
teasers.
to me, what you just explained to me, I'm like, oh, it's way
Oh, it's so
deeper.
good.
And
I love it.
but probably even better because I'm probably still going to get that high school element
Yeah,
that I enjoyed about
Yes.
the excerpt, but so much more at the
gosh.
same time,
Yeah.
which labels, bro. Like
Oh my
your
God,
cover.
yeah.
Your cover is amazing.
Thank you so much.
It is, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, your cover is amazing. It has the Remy Cameron there with his dog, and everybody has sticky notes on them.
Yeah.
Right? A couple of sticky notes, and all the sticky notes
Yes.
have different labels on it. I was looking at that, and I was like, I don't know what it means, but it looks,
Yeah,
it looks
now,
nice.
now that you said that,
But now that you get
Yeah,
that, I'm
yeah,
like, oh, this
yeah.
makes so
That's
much
why I
sense.
kind of love about the cover is because you're kind of like, well, why has this kid got all these like post-it notes on? This is just
Right.
the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
But but it's so relatable to what he goes through
Yep.
throughout the book. So
Very thematic.
Yeah.
I love that. I actually have it kind of like ties into some of the questions that I was going to bring to talk to you about. That's like the perfect like I don't know, metaphor for it because as a writer and like I'm a white cisgendered person. So I'm writing from the perspective of like white cisgendered people because I feel like, the writing world and kind of media in general like needs diversity so bad.
Yeah.
But those diverse like main characters need to come from diverse writers
Yes.
like to make space for them.
Right.
So
Yes,
I think
thank
it's
you.
so weird when like white people write from the perspective of non-white
Listen.
people or straight people white
Yeah.
from the perspective
I
of gay
find
people.
it incredibly bold and brave.
It's
That's
weird.
what I'm calling it.
That's
Bold
a
and
very
brave.
that's a very generous term. It's very weird because like these people literally have stories, and even if you're writing about a character that you are, I don't know if you're adopted. Like
I'm not. My mom
yeah,
is.
exactly.
My mom is, yes.
Okay, so you know about that world, but you're not actually like an adopted child. But you can
Yes.
still write from the perspective of a black, gay teen or whatever
Yes.
because you've been there.
Yeah.
And that's why I love like Angie Thomas so much, and like people, she's
so
the best. Like
amazing.
I love
Just her
her.
in general, just talking to her is the
Yes.
best. Yeah.
And
I
like
know who
Nicola
that is.
Yoon and all those like amazing
Yeah.
writers because like you can tell that even though these aren't their specific stories, they still come from this place of like, this is our story. And
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
But, one of the challenges that I face as again, white cisgendered writer is that obviously you want to have a very diverse cast.
Yes.
With
Super.
lots of like people being represented, but you don't want them to look like the tokens
Yes,
that are placed there.
Exactly. Do
Genuine,
not
yeah.
put them
Yes.
into this stereotype thing that we've
Yeah,
seen in
'cause that's
100
like-
movies and TV shows
Exactly,
before.
like
So
the
this
gay
is-
best friend
This
and the
is
black.
interesting to me
No,
because I
friend,
feel
you
like
know?
it's kind of counter argument that all authors have to encompass. Where you saying
Right.
on the one hand, you shouldn't be writing from a perspective that you haven't lived or is not close to. You should let those authors put out that story. But in that same story, that same author who has the perspective that you're talking about has to also describe the perspective
Of
on
other
other
characters.
characters
Yeah.
involved
I mean,
in the story.
it's
Maybe
definitely
the main character.
Yeah, it's definitely. We're talking about the main
story
character.
story.
The main character. You have to give that story to someone who's lived it 1st.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make space for them first to tell
Exactly.
their stories first. And then as time progresses, and hopefully we get better as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know if this is something that you are so passionate about, which goes back to another question I always have for other people, and I always ask myself, why are you writing this story?
Yeah,
like
yes.
why do you
Oh my God, yes.
feel the need to tell the story
Yeah.
of someone that is definitely not you? Like what
Right.
what
What are you trying to say to the
what are you trying to
world?
say to the world?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then if it is because you feel
Yeah.
there's not enough of their stories, well then find them and let them tell their
Yes,
story.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's
I
true.
love that.
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot of mostly white people who are just like, if you guys want, like remember like a couple years back when like Will Smith got all upset because I think it was the Oscars, there was just like no diversity. It was just all white nominees, all white films,
right.
all white directors. And everybody was like, well, if you want more black people or if you want more people of color, then you need to make more movies. Why don't they make movies?
And now they're doing it, and people
Well,
Now you're like, why is there
yeah.
no white people in Jordan Peele's movies?
Yeah. But what I also see it, like we were talking, I think, in the beginning, you were saying how you quit your job and it was really hard and you had a lot of hardships. And I feel like a lot of people with like the most important stories to tell about the human experience, they have to work 3 jobs. They're single moms. They're people who come from a poor background and they don't have time to create art and they don't have the resources to create art. So they can't get their stories out. So it's like, how do we like make space for diverse writers or writers from different backgrounds that don't necessarily have the privilege of being able to create art because it takes so much time. It's like a whole nother job to write a novel. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I know you
Yeah.
probably
Oh, yeah.
would agree. It's
Yeah.
just so hard. It takes
Yeah.
so much time. And so I feel like, part of making art in general, whether it's film or television or books, is trying to uplift people who have a story to tell
Yes.
and trying to, any way you can help them to get their name out and like also, help to make it so that they have the resources to have the time to do that.
Well,
which
that's
is
the
really
question
hard.
I ask. What I want to ask is, are there gatekeepers? Because, like, just like in
Yeah.
music, in music, there's gatekeepers who, say what type of music is hot and what's not. When you're coming from the genre that you're working in, I'm pretty sure there's already gatekeepers in the book community.
Yeah.
Are they in favor of these type of stories being told?
With like any creative field, well, I with any field in general, you can turn this back to any kind of business and whatnot. There are the ones that are allies. There are ones that are in support. Right. There are the ones that are in support in public, and in actuality,
they don't really.
They don't,
Very
or
selfish.
they have this set mind that if we let one in, we're good. We have this check box. We
They
check
the
this
box,
off,
that's
and
all.
I'm good to go. And then they're the ones who just, who have seen it, that this is what has been successful for them in the past, and this is the model and the trend that they will continue to follow. So there's definitely that in the book community, which is it's so funny because people always ask me, why did I go to an independent publisher? Because my publisher is a small indie press. It's not like like one of the big 5 publishers that everyone knows off the top of their head.
Right.
Even if you don't read books, you know them. I went with an indie press because at that time I saw this wall that I just didn't want. I didn't want to climb. I didn't honestly want to climb. Not that I don't want to put forth the work, but you put forth the work as a person of color every day to be. You could be the best at whatever it is you do, but you still have to put in 30, 50%
Yeah.
more to be
Yes.
noticed because you're a person of color.
Yeah.
And then as a queer person, you got to put another extra 10%. It's
Yeah.
just so many different things
Yeah.
that if you are not what they would consider the norm, you have to put in extra work for.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that at Independent Press. They were very willing to work with me to see my vision, see my story, and it didn't matter that I was black, and it didn't matter that I was queer, and it didn't matter. All those things kind of go out the door because they just want to tell stories. They just
Right.
want access for other people. So yeah, there are people all across the board in every field of life where there are gatekeepers for certain aspects. But fortunately, I kind of took the
that's
other way
awesome.
Okay, how
around,
did
and
you
maybe a
find
little
your
longer.
way? How'd you find your way to the independent press?
I research. Google has been my friend.
Yeah.
I just researched and went on Google. It's funny because when I started writing the book is when Tumblr was cool. Before it became sanitized
Yeah.
and washed down. But Tumblr was cool. And there was a post about a book, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to read this book. So I read the book. It was a fantastic book. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I stumbled on another book. Thank you, Tumblr. And read that book. And turns out, I didn't pay attention at first, but when I finished the second book, I was like, oh, who published this book? This is really good.
Right.
It was the same publisher for both books. I had no idea. And so I researched them online, and I was like, this is awesome. They make great books. I just kept reading their books. I was like, I want to publish with them. So it became this. So I had this big dream. For a small independent publisher, but I also went through what everybody else goes through. It's like, but are they going to want my work? Kind of
Right.
thing. It was hard.
Oh man, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Putting-
just when you finish, you just
Yeah.
we're gonna text each other so you can
Yes.
let loose all those emotions. People people talk about, but no one really talks about what authors go through in that
Yeah.
wait period of is
Oh
somebody
my
gonna pick this
God.
up and buy
Yeah.
this book?
It's
Am I gonna be published?
It's like, well, I can imagine. I've never queried before, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
can imagine it's like just kind of like ripping your chest open and pouring out your insides and just leaving them there.
And
And
saying-
birds are picking at it.
Yeah,
And you're like, "Come
exactly.
on,
Yeah.
I gotta get to the hospital. Like, just
Wow.
go
Hoping
through
somebody
it. Yeah,
cleans
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
horrible.
It's
It's
tough,
really
yeah.
hard to put yourself out there like that. And
That's what I was
obviously,
And then
thinking.
it
always the
gets worse
rejection.
though, because then when you actually
Even
publish a
worse?
book, then you publish a book, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, the reader's gonna
You
like
get
it.
Goodreads.
Yeah, good. Oh,
Man.
let's not talk about that.
Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess it's in every art form. Once you put your art
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
there's a satisfaction to
It's
it.
not yours anymore,
At first.
in a
But
way.
it's not yours.
But it's
Yeah.
not yours, and you're waiting for all of the critics and all of the outlets and everybody to have an opinion and see how far the reaction is going to push this thing
Yeah.
that you created that's really close to your heart that
Yeah.
you think is amazing, regardless
Yeah.
if it's really
Yeah.
amazing or not. You think it's amazing. Every artist thinks their stuff is good.
Yeah.
That's a
which
good
they
thing
should.
that's a really good thing to note because like well, you have to get to that point before you start trying to put yourself out there. That there's still so many people are way too humble. They're just like, oh, I know it sucks, but could you read it? I'm like, if it sucks, I don't want to read it.
Exactly. No,
You think it sucks?
You better think
You
your
better
stuff
think
is
it's good
Yeah, if you don't think it's good, I don't care at all. Like not even an
Exactly.
inkling. So I
Yeah.
assume that most people think that way. Like if I ever do something like I put out, I'm like, yo, I think it's
Check
dope.
this
You should check it
out.
out.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be
kind of a
like,
genius. Wow.
you know, if you got time.
Yeah,
No,
it's-
this will enrich your life.
Right.
This is going to give you something you didn't have before.
Exactly.
So, nah, that's a scary thing to do. And
Yes.
those first couple of steps, I know just on top of, you're talking about, especially for your situation in particular, where you took all of these risks in order to even get to that point.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now it's like the pile on. What's going to happen now? Am I going to get,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I can't believe you did that, man. I'm still proud of you for that. I'm super proud of you for doing that.
Thanks.
I actually had a question. So when you were at your previous, the job that you left, did you have the idea in your head and then you made the choice to leave, or were you like, I don't have enough time to have a finished product?
I didn't have enough time to do anything but eat DiGiorno pizza and drink Red Bull. That was a bad night. Very satisfying though. Walmart, you were my friend. So before I actually started my book, I was a fan fiction writer.
Oh my God, me too.
Yes, listen.
I love you.
I try to tell you that all the time.
My
Listen,
soulmate.
exactly. But it's such a great,
It is
healthy form
so
to
good.
start a writing
You already have like a
career.
whole platform, all these characters.
Yes.
Your world
It's
is built
built
for
in.
you. All you have to do is stretch that muscle, get confident in
Yes.
writing, get confident in
Yes, get rid of
dialogue.
dialogue. Yes,
Learn grammar.
learn your beats and everything.
You
It's
also learn about how to
wonderful.
take criticism because all the people
Oh my! Because
commenting,
they can be ruthless
be
on
so
archive
bad.
of our own. Yes.
Real quick, anybody who doesn't know what fan fiction author
yeah.
Oh
is,
yes, yes.
I didn't
which
know what
is-
it was until I met
which
her.
is-
dude.
oh,
I had
okay.
no idea.
I know what it
Most
is, but I know
people
some
don't.
people don't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
when you take a already created world, a book of yours, or
Yeah.
let's
Or a
say
fandom,
a
TV
fandom,
show,
anything, TV
anime,
show,
yeah.
and you continue the story on your own, like DBZ Abridged. I know people watch that. They're taking that.
Right.
Well, that's a voiceover. That's not really a fandom, but anything like that.
Yeah.
Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean, where they take these characters, this world that already exists, and further the story on their own.
Yes, or
That's where you get to
create your
practice
own
it.
world.
your own little canon.
Yeah.
Don't they do it a lot with like musicians and actors?
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff?
Oh,
But that's
yeah.
when
So-
it gets. That's when it
Yeah.
gets kind of.
So here's where we
That's-
were going with this, because that's how I got my start was with
love it.
musicians.
Low key same. Like I was
You
in a lot of
did?
fandoms,
Hold on,
but
what?
Yeah. Oh wow.
I've never read any of your.
I know,
fandoms.
and you never will.
What?
I don't think any of you will.
I
no,
want to know. I don't know.
delete.
definitely burn.
Well, who did you use? Who did you use?
I was writing fan fiction when I was like
Literally.
a wee tot.
Really?
So
Oh,
back in the day,
man.
I was like
I
my
love
Backstreet
it.
Boys
I
NSYNC
love
obsession.
it.
Hold on.
Was, yeah, you don't know how long I've been writing.
You've never
So-
said anything about it.
It started way back in the day.
Let me ask you one question. Did you do WWF? Yeah, you did. I know you did. Let's go. Let's keep going. Okay.
The answer is I did WWE.
WWE.
Ooh. Yeah.
giving
So
me
yeah,
life.
I've been doing it for a long time. So I started with fan
It's so
fiction.
good.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, it like you said, it's a great way to stretch the muscle. So I was able to do that while working 60 hours a week because most of the world was built for me, and I could just I could just build on that. Or a lot of times I wrote alternate universe stuff, so I could create my own world. I would just already have these characters that people know, so I didn't have to do too much with like character description and stuff like that. So that's how I got started. And then as I progressively noticed that my time at FedEx was getting worse, I actually had to take 2 sabbaticals from FedEx because I was in therapy, and my therapist was like, you're burnt, you're done. You can't give them anymore. And so I had a 30-day hiatus where I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. I was miserable. It was just really bad. And a friend of mine was like, well, you're great writing this great fan fiction. And she was a published author. She was like, you should really write a book. You really have talent. And that's the great thing about fan fiction also, because you build a community of people that the internet.
Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
The internet,
Yeah.
man, is amazing
You get your
because
first
you don't
critique
know. Yeah, you don't
partners.
know who these people are. You don't
Yeah.
realize in real life that they're not these other people shouting with you about your favorite TV
Right.
show.
Yeah.
They're actually people who have real professional jobs and whatnot.
Yeah. It's
So
an escape.
yeah, it's this
Yeah.
escape place where you think it's like virtual. It's almost like Ready Player One kind of thing, where
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
you
Yeah.
never realize who's on the other end of this here.
Yeah. You can be anybody you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So she was a published author, and she's like, "You need to write this book." And so during my first leave, I was like, "Okay." I sat down. I was like, I started scribbling stuff down and whatnot, and then I started writing it. And I was like, "This is terrible, terrible." And that's how it kind of got started. So then, as I started enjoying writing the book, I was like, "Oh wow, I want to be like at my table in my small little apartment kitchen."
Right.
More than I want to be at FedEx, and that's how it kind of started.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, okay, it may be time to go.
That's
Wow.
awesome. That's so awesome.
That's a bold move.
Yeah,
It is
bold.
It
so
took a
bold.
lot of convincing from a lot of
Yeah.
well, not a lot of people, from a couple of really really close people like my parents.
Oh yeah.
And then there was another manager at the job with me. She left. And she was like, "You can do this. You can leave." I left. I
That's
quit.
awesome.
She started her own business. She is doing fantastic, and she was like, "You can do this. It can be done."
Isn't it amazing? I feel like you get a certain amount of support when you take a leap that other people are either afraid to take or people that have already taken it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
You gotta
two
look for
different
those
kind of
people.
supports, but you find those people who will support you when you're going to do something for
Right.
yourself and you're doing something positive.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think people understand.
Oh,
They
yeah.
think they're going to be out there on their
Yeah,
own.
yeah. It is this total this mind freak where you
Yeah.
think this is
Yeah.
strictly me. No, this
Yeah.
doesn't happen to anyone
It's like
else
a-
in
yeah.
the entire world.
It's
kind
like
of
free
thing.
soloing El Cap,
Yeah.
It's like you have nothing. If you fall, nothing there to catch you. You don't have benefits. You don't have health insurance.
None.
You don't have any of that. It's super, super
in
scary.
that sense, you don't, but you do have the support of people letting you know it can be done. You
Yeah.
start to surround yourself with people, with like-minded people, and you're like, oh, there's other people out here.
That's
who
actually
also do
that's a
these
good
things.
point, because they say like if you're in the creative field or you're doing a non-conventional career, surrounded with people that are either in your bubble or ones that are successful
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
So
I
like
know.
like if you're in the music industry, surround yourself with producers or engineers or people that are successful in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like having a mentor
Yeah.
without even calling them a mentor, like
Yeah,
they may not know that, but in your
Right.
head you're like, yo, I love this dude.
It's
Yeah.
important to be able to seek proof that
can
that
happen,
it works,
yeah.
because like
Yeah.
when you're surrounded by people who are all living that conventional life and aren't creative people, they're gonna definitely think you're crazy, and they're gonna
That's a
think
good point.
you're reckless and
they're
stupid.
not they're not thinking in their
Yeah.
head right now like I got to go home and I got to
Right.
write this
They
or
have-
else I'm gonna be like
Yeah.
depressed.
Like when they're
Right.
at work,
You
they're
know?
not thinking constantly 24/7 about their novel and about their characters and
Right.
about this world. They're not living in their head like we are. They're going home and watching Netflix every night
Yes.
and wondering
Yes.
why I've never watched Game of Thrones. It's like, because I don't have time to watch Game of Thrones.
Oh,
you can
my.
still
I
watch
know,
Game
I
of
know.
Thrones.
No,
okay?
no. I was gonna say people ask me all the time, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I haven't seen a television series from start to
Literally.
finish
Wow.
since 2014 because of writing. I
Basically
don't have
same.
But that's
Yes.
respectable. That's,
I'll
that's
start a
dope.
bunch
I
of
mean, it
them. I'll just
happens.
put on like an episode of The Office that I've seen 1,000 times. But like most of the time, I don't have time for any of that. And like people around me will just be like, oh my gosh,
Because you're
it's
thinking
so
the
funny.
future when you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's not this conventional like job that everyone else has, you're still thinking about, okay, this is what is going to pay my
Right.
bills.
Yeah,
So I
yes.
got to, I
Yes.
got to prep for this.
Yeah.
I gotta
You-
get this. I
like-
got to go to bed early. I got to,
Yeah.
I'm not ironing my suit for tomorrow, but I'm definitely, making sure my laptop's charged and
Right,
my
right,
notebook's
right,
together.
right.
Yeah.
The thing that I try to tell myself, because like I'm a creative person too, like music and everything, and I live with her, so we're both like always like in our heads.
Oh.
The
That's
main
good.
thing that I think about, but sometimes like takes over my brain, is I feel like if you struggle now, there'll be longer periods where you're not struggling. So
Yeah.
say I didn't do it for 10 years,
Right.
Yeah.
or I could have done it for like maybe a year or two, and then 30 years from now I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of
Yes.
ultimately what you probably thought.
Yeah.
When you're just sitting at work or doing what you're doing, and then that day that you realize you got to do it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you're like, all right, I can be miserable again here for another year,
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like every story you ever hear about anyone who made it, like who has an incredible like creative career. It's never like, oh yeah, I was just sitting on the couch getting ready for work, and somebody knocked on my door and said, "Would you like to be the next Britney Spears?
She
Like, would you like
she
to?"
tells me that every
have a-"
dang day.
Yeah, because I'm like, you got to do it. Like nobody's
Yeah.
just gonna knock on your door and be like, "I'd like to sign you to my record label." Like
Right.
you have to go out and there and do it. And
Yeah.
like if you don't write the book, you're definitely never gonna publish it because you didn't write it. But if you
Right.
do write it, like what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You should have enjoyed it.
Exactly.
You loved it. You got your voice out. It's so funny though, like when you kind of, I don't know if this happened with you, but I didn't have a lot of like creative people around me. Definitely didn't have a lot of writer friends. Still only have like a couple. I'm so
Right.
glad to have made one more.
Yes,
it's like every
exactly.
single one matters. But like when I first started writing and I was like, I want to take this seriously. It was hard for me to like tell people. Like I didn't want them. I didn't know what they were gonna think. I remember when I was like hiding it from Matt, and then I sat
For
him
like
down.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah, kind of. Like I just
Well,
didn't
not
feel,
you didn't
I
hide it.
don't
You just
know.
didn't feel like you needed to.
Right.
I didn't like tell you, and then I sat you down. I was like, I want to talk to you about something really important, and you were like, oh my god,
I know,
is everything
right?
okay? And I'm like,
drop the bomb now.
yeah. I'm like, just don't say anything until I get it all out. And he's like, oh my god, okay. So I like sat him down on the couch, and I'm like, I like writing, and he's like, okay, like. What do you mean? Like words? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, it's just, but it's
She's like, I like forming sentences.
it's
Right.
like fiction
Like, all right.
though. And he's like, okay, like Harry Potter. And I'm like, no, not like Harry Potter.
It's everyone's go-to right there. It's
Right,
either
right,
Harry
right.
Potter or Lord of the Rings. It's like
Yes.
we're not all writing
I
these epic
know.
fantasies.
I was like,
it's okay.
I kind of wish I could tell you that it was a cool epic fantasy, but it's not. It's like contemporary romance.
Which are
Ouch.
even better.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely a market
Exactly.
for it.
You just get
No,
so
you-
scared that people are gonna like judge you, and then when you finally do tell people and they know, it's so like it's such a relief to be like, I'm writing, and then they know, and you don't have to lie, and I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
really,
what about,
but it's
okay,
weird.
There's people. I want to speak in third person, but this is a safe space. So, hey, listen. There's people like myself who you start one thing and you don't finish it, and then you start something else and you
Yeah.
don't finish it.
Yeah.
So the people around you hear you continue to make these promises and dreams and things that you're going to do and not see you follow through. So then when you finally like have the fortitude and you're so serious and you really are going to follow through with something, it takes a minute for everybody else to catch on and be like, you know what? I guess he is serious now. But that was a hard portion of my career in podcasting, I guess. Yeah. Because it was like, now you want to do this, now you want to do that. And everybody's like, hey, you going to do podcasts? Sure. In 2 months, you're going to be doing something different. And nobody cared. Nobody really, knew that how serious I wanted to be about it. So it takes a while for people who haven't been had as much follow through to gain that support that like your response, like Matt's response to you when you said you was writing. I didn't get that response when I started.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad. Yeah, you get it. From
you got that. Oh, okay.
You got it from
like,
me.
Oh, that's nice, honey. That's cool. Yeah. It's like I feel like I worry that people think I'm a joke, that people think that I'm living in this fantasy world. One thing that really helped me was that like a month or so ago, I read this article about Lady Gaga that like just blew my mind. First of all, she's like incredible, but obviously everybody in the world knows that. When she was in college, she was grinding. She was out there singing in the bars and doing whatever she could. And there was an entire Facebook group that these people who went to school with her made, saying like, Stephanie, I forget her
starts
real
with
last
G,
name,
I think.
Will never be famous or something. And they made this entire Facebook group just
absolutely, she can't be more
absolutely
famous.
dragging her, posting pictures of her. Oh, I saw her at the bar again tonight. Who does she think she is?
Wow.
She thinks she's so special. She thinks she's going to be a celebrity. She thinks she's going to be famous. They were dragging her.
You know what I would do? You know what I would do?
Yes.
If on one of my albums, I would have that. I would crop out that Facebook and have it be my cover.
That would be
That'd be so funny.
Right there. Yeah,
that's another level.
Funny.
That's
Isn't
a
that
whole
funny?
other level of hate.
And what I realize is that it makes the normies, no offense,
Ooh,
it makes
normies.
it makes like, normal people who aren't creative, it makes them uncomfortable to see people stepping out of those molds that society creates for us and trying to like transcend what like that like basic life. It makes people uncomfortable. They're like, who do you think you are? You think that you are going to live a life that's better than my mundane life? Like, why do you think you're better than me? Why do you think that you're going to be famous? Like, and I feel like when you look at people who are successful in creative endeavors, like a lot of people don't see them as people. Like, I don't know, they see them as this like extra,
I was going to say that.
Elevated level of human existence or something. So when you know somebody in your real life who's trying to be a musician, who's trying to be a public figure, who's trying to write, a lot of people get like uncomfortable by that or offended by that.
I think they say like, what makes you so special?
Exactly.
Or why are you so full of yourself? Like, like a lot of people when they have like awards for like celebrities, and they'll be like, "Why are they crying?" Or they have such an easy life. Blah blah blah.
Like,
okay, listen.
No idea
you didn't see them
means.
when they were like struggling.
Exactly.
Yeah, dreaming about it every
and
single
not saying
day.
everybody struggled the same.
Right. Everyone has their different path, but it's still a struggle.
There's a what's it, Inside the Actor Studio? Have you watched those?
Yeah, I
Man, they'll make you respect the specific.
So
like
hard.
I watched the Dave Chappelle one like 40 times.
I watched that.
That made me cry. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And then the one with Bradley Cooper's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a bunch.
But
that are really good.
one of the most universal themes in all of their stories is risk and reward, and like taking that risk and realizing that your dreams are worth it, and that if you don't like take that leap, you're never going to get anywhere. And so they all have that period, unless they're like Drew Barrymore and their parents are famous to begin with or something. But most of them have that period of time where they talk about.
Yes. Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's a lot of like celebrities that are famous people's kids. But anyway, any of those like people like us who transcended and made it, they all have that period that they talk about that they end up drawing a lot of inspiration from, or a lot of their narratives come from that period of their time where they struggled and where they weren't sure where they're going to end up, or where they almost gave up, but they didn't. Yes. And so that, I mean, if you're in that period of your life, that should tell you that you're on the right track. You're on the path.
Like I heard this a while ago. It's like a difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is follow through. Everybody has dreams and ideas and stuff like that. Follow through and perseverance is what separates you from the people who didn't make it a lot of the times, because a lot of people give up. A lot of people let the conditions around their life stop them from pursuing what they were going to continue to do. If you would have continued on, keep going for the next 2 or 3 years, something will break. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep refining your craft. Keep getting better. But as soon as you let all of the outside influences halt what you're trying to do, you're never going to make it then.
Right.
Yeah.
You're never going to make it.
Right.
I recently heard a statistic. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's something like this. It's like, I think it's like 60% of Americans want to write a novel, but 90% of the people who start it never finish.
Yeah.
90% of people who start a novel never finish it. Because obviously, again, it is the hardest thing. I mean, it's so hard. People just, I don't know if people think that writing a novel is easy, but it's
No. And that's
so
one thing I
hard.
wanted to ask you. You have, how many books
So
do you have
hard.
currently you're working on?
Working on like writing. Okay, well, I'll try to give this broad answer. So right now, in this current moment, I have How to Be Remy Cameron. I'm working on the past pages, which means that's just your final look as the author to sign off and say everything is good with me, all the words, the grammar, everything's good. I'm fine with it. So I have to go. I'm in that process. I have to read that. And then I have another book that I'm working on, which is actually my fourth book, because my third book is with my publisher, which we just changed the title the other day, and I will begin edits, my first round of edits on that probably in the fall. So I have to finish book 4 in the summer, and then I have a short story in an anthology coming out in 2020.
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You are
And
prolific.
Another story I have to get done by the summer also that I can't talk about.
Hey,
So
wow.
all of that going
At
on.
the same time, I'm totally
In
confused.
this
I have no idea.
That's awesome.
That's madness.
Your calendar must be like
Madness.
buzzing. All
And
the
I
time.
I keep saying yes when people like, can you come to my event or can you do this? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm gonna be there, not realizing that no, you
Yeah.
can't, because I
Right.
still work a
Yeah.
day job.
Yeah.
So I can't just be like, oh
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's like when you
Yeah.
do Tuesday at 12 o'clock, you're like, I'm
I'm at work.
Yeah, I'm not
I am,
available. Sorry,
yeah.
I would love to,
Yeah.
but people don't realize it. But yeah, I have all that going.
So you say you're doing an
Wow.
anthology? Because I was going to ask you, I was like, when people create these books, right? You create one separate world. Have you ever thought about creating the long extended world
I
over a
am
couple
not
of different?
a series person.
No, never.
No,
I
am
thought
not
you
a
would be.
series person. I will read them. I will go to all the movies.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. Like I thought you were gonna.
I
do
would
one.
go all to the movies. It is not for me.
man,
I don't know. Like
Good
I
for
like to
you.
tell a story, and then I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And then it's there. I always leave my stuff open ended just in case.
Yeah, that's
I could go
awesome.
back. But yeah, I'm not a serious. I have so much respect for people who write series.
10 years.
Because you have to really build
Oh, yeah.
that
That's a
all the way
whole
out.
world.
I'm
you have
giving you
to-
10 years. You're gonna do one.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate it.
There's so
Thanks.
many people who I feel like they write a novel and it's supposed to be just one standalone, but then their publisher's like, hey, can you squeeze like a sequel out of this?
Yeah,
And like,
there's room for this story to be
yes,
told a little bit more.
You
yeah.
can tell though, like when you read that sequel, that it's just a sequel of a popular book, and there's nothing really happening. It's like, okay, this is exactly what I would have expected to happen. There's no continuation. Like every character arc was realized, and now we just have these.
Now we're
characters that aren't
trying to-
really
Now
growing.
they're just profiting. At
Yeah,
that point, you're
exactly.
profiting.
So yeah, I hate
I
that.
think you're gonna do one that you build a world that is a story that's told over a couple of. That's what I think.
I listen.
I'll tell you
I'm
why
all for
later.
it.
I'll tell you why
It's
later,
More
but I
money,
think
but
We're
I'm
calling
up
it.
for
We're
it. Let's
calling
go.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so.
So
funny.
you recently, correct me if I'm wrong, you had like a book signing or
Yeah,
a meet and greet type thing. Was that in New York? I think?
I was. Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
saw that we were talking about it, and Fortune and I saying that you were talking about the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to know how that felt.
What's the fame like, bro?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
First, not famous.
You are famous,
Um,
okay? You most famous person in this room.
Hey, yeah.
I would
it.
like to think you are famous for what you do all the time. Like seriously, I couldn't do this. I'm just not that good with talking.
Hey, you're doing good now.
You're faking it well.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Listen, that's what I've always said since I was a kid.
Yes,
Fake it till
fake
you
it till you
make
make
it. That
it.
is my life
You're my soulmate.
story.
Literally same.
You've been to a lot of cities, a lot of
Yeah,
festivals.
yeah,
a lot
I
of-
have.
how's
It's
it
been wild. I just sat down the other day and thought about this because I've been going and going and going since January. But the one that you saw was probably the one at it was in New York at BookCon.
Yeah, I think that was
a
it.
big one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the biggie.
Yeah.
And so we had a signing for the advanced reader copies of How to Be Remy Cameron, which is just basically the uncorrected version of the
I was
story.
wondering what that was. I'm like, yo, I don't have one of those.
Yeah.
Why don't
I wish I had some. But it's just really it's been through a couple of round of edits, but it's still not the perfect.
Just to
ready
build
sell
hype.
version.
I didn't know that was a
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah,
I like it.
it's they get very violent over
Oh,
these
yeah.
things. And I'm
Wow,
just
really?
like, it's
Violent?
not even
They
the
want the
final
unedited?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the first
want
people that
every
get to
version.
read them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like when you're a fan of somebody, you want everything
Right.
that they do. Okay,
Right,
you want that pen they use
Yeah.
to
That would
write the
that would
first
make me feel
draft of the
awesome.
notebook.
I bought
Yeah.
I bought Nas's lost tapes. I did.
I mean,
See?
can you like
See?
imagine how much like an arc of like any Harry
I
Potter
don't
book would be?
even-
Like it's crazy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I don't
those
even
are like
know how dangerous that scene
Right.
would have been.
no, right? Yeah, it's like how do you even get one of those?
But how do you
I don't even know
not
if
get
they're
a big head?
if they exist at that
That
point.
too.
That- yeah,
Oh, how
seriously.
do you not get a big head over all of the?
Because I am incredibly grateful. I am
That's fair.
incredibly grateful
So
because I know
important.
where I was back at FedEx. I know that month of not being able to get out of bed. I still have these visceral memories of what it was like not to have this, and so I'm incredibly grateful to have it. That's why I always tell people like I'm not a big deal because these people mean the world to me. Like they're helping keeping me out of this dark place that I was in. So and that's to go back to what we were saying earlier. I think it's a very important thing for people to realize is go through the struggle because you're going to get to this next spot, but never forget the struggle and never forget that it can happen and it probably will happen again. Being a creative person in any field, writing, music, art, whatever, you are always going to go through these dark times of where you're unproductive, where you go through imposter syndrome.
Oh my God.
where it's
so bad.
It
Oh my
exists,
God.
and so
Yeah.
don't ever
Imposter
forget.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
don't ever forget that it happened
Yeah.
because it's going to come back
Yeah.
around again. You have to start building that toolbox of how you're going to deal with it when it does come around.
Yeah, I feel like
Absolutely.
the being like uncomfortable is actually a good thing because
Yeah.
you know that YouTuber Casey Neistat, he's like everywhere. You may
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but he has a saying where there's no plan B. Saying like,
Yeah.
because when he came up, he had like a kid when he was like a teenager, and then he was like living in like a trailer or something crazy like that, and he was like, I have to do this, kind of thing. So it's like there's a lot of if you're comfortable all the time, like say you make a decent amount of money, but you have a dream, but you almost don't do it because you're like, well, I can still go home
It's
and be
worse.
comfortable.
It's worse than that.
You know?
Yeah,
But,
but
like,
you don't want to disrupt the comfort at all.
exactly.
Either.
Because once you cut the cord,
Yep.
you're going to be living on ramen noodles.
But it's like it's so worth it because
That's hard to do.
It's
That's
hard,
That's the
yeah.
hardest
Is
thing.
get
It's like-
comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yeah, it's like, I mean, because in 20 years, if you look back and you're like, God, I wasted my life. Like I didn't write my novel.
And that's
or I
probably
didn't-
the most depression I think
Yeah.
anybody would face.
It is
Yeah.
so
they're
hard.
like 40,
It's
50,
so hard.
60, and they're like,
Like I had
no
this
one's gonna.
dream.
I
and
didn't
nobody's
want
ever
that.
gonna know.
Yeah.
I did not want
Yeah.
that for myself. I don't want that for any of my friends. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
go ahead and
It's
do it
the most
now.
heartbreaking
Like,
thing.
Yeah.
At least try. If you fail, you tried. But if you never try, it's gonna eat you away. When you're
I know.
57, you're like, what the?
There's nothing
Why?
more tragic.
57.
There's
It's
nothing more
exactly
tragic.
that age
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
We gotta wake
I
up.
have seen statistics on Google
I'm
that
telling you.
57
is
is
the
where
year.
it
You
all
gotta-
goes
you wake
downhill.
up at 57.
I'm
you're
not
like,
looking forward to
oh
it.
my God.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's.
Strangle your wife.
It was,
Oh no!
I mean,
Yikes! Thankfully, the kids have moved out by then.
Yeah.
At least. Yikes! Yeah, I feel like when I met Matt, because he was like one of the first like other creatives I had ever really met and been close with, and he started talking to me about how he felt. We were both working at Kroger at the time, both miserable.
Listen.
Miserable. Yeah.
Kroger is not the worst place you
It's
can be.
not the
It's
worst
actually not.
place.
Right.
It wasn't the worst.
I
I
give it
would
big
say.
ups every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
We met there and stuff, and I mean, obviously, it wasn't my passion, like cutting meat behind the deli counter
You were
as a
meat
vegan.
cutter?
Yeah,
you worked in a deli.
Oh
Yeah, it
wow!
was really
It was a
weird.
vegan
I
working in a
worked in
deli.
produce. I knew my field.
very weird. I know. I was like, I
Listen.
want to go with produce. But like, I remember him we were talking about like how we were both creative people. And he was like, yeah, I could have been a manager at Kroger making, and if I kept at it, I could make like $80,000 a year here. But I have, my creative thing, and it's our burden. It's like a burden to some degree, because like
the burden is real.
Yeah, because like you could just settle
it haunts every day.
make good money as a manager in retail and get a nice house and have the white picket fence and a dog and 2.5 kids, but that's like not like that's more of a risk, that life, than not going for what we want, even though it's really hard, and it means that you're going to be in an apartment a lot longer, and you're going to be eating ramen and using Suave shampoo.
That's where the common friends come into play. So say you're by yourself down this dark tunnel, but if you have friends that are also trying to do it, they may have leads, and then you may have a lead, and then you can be like, hey, what'd you do here? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you inspire each other, you play off of each other. It really helps you continue. Like when you think, oh, I haven't done anything in 7 days or whatever, and you're like, what am I doing? And you reach out to your friend, and you're like, oh, I got this going on. I was like, oh, really? Yo, you're still moving?
For like you,
right, cool.
like, because you're like, hey, I want to do this podcast. Yeah. And for me, I was like, oh, cool, because I love audio and I like podcasts, and I like, meeting people and talking. But if you were by yourself, you had nobody like at work or anywhere,
it would have been hard for me to keep going.
I don't know.
It would have been hard for me to keep going. A friend of mine, the Everyday Black Men Show, another podcast I listen to, like he started his podcast maybe a couple months before mine, and he is really probably the guy who was like, man, what are you waiting for? Just do it.
You gotta just do it.
And I watch his show, and I make sure that I keep up with what's going on with him, and like, hey, where's your episode at, bro? Like,
we're like, what,
if he misses
14 episodes in?
Yeah, this is our 15th episode.
So think about if you didn't do it up until right now.
Right. I would be missing all its content. It's like, I'm just enjoying doing it. Like down the line, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but I'm enjoying doing it.
Right.
And I want to keep up with those people who have those dreams. Hey, what are you doing for your dream? You didn't drop an episode in a month. What's going on, bro? He did. Like that happened a month ago, and I was like, bro, what's going on? I had to call him up. Like, hey.
Remember we were talking about the Billion Idiots, and I didn't realize it's been on for like 6 years.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Because I just found out about
it's definitely a grind.
Andrew Schultz. Like, what? You found out before.
Yeah,
and now I love that guy.
Yeah,
he makes me laugh so hard.
Depending on the profession, I don't know how fast. I feel like you're taking off fast. How do you feel in comparison to other people? Because I think certain professions take off slowly. No matter who you are.
He's going to be honest about it. I can already tell.
In my eyes, it's moving fast.
I hate comparisons.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to compare. It's your own journey. But
So that's another great part of any of our lives, is that no matter how much we don't want to, we always end up comparing ourselves to someone. Yeah. It's always someone who's more successful.
Exactly. Well, you don't want to compare yourself to a bum. They don't matter.
I compare myself to everybody. So yeah, I know deep down on the innermost part that I try to ignore that it's been a very good jump. Right. From some people, their first book comes out, does okay, and then their second book comes out, does okay. Sometimes not into their fifth book that it really jumps off. And I know that I was very fortunate with my first book that it did well, and that but I put out that good energy though. I'm not gonna lie, I have this very, very deep belief that if you put out good energy towards other people, it comes back to you.
Right.
So I just try to put out that good energy, and I know that's why,
I will say that's probably a big part of it. I know you, and you've always been a good guy. You've been a good guy.
I've had my hiccups. I've had my hiccups.
We all have.
I could look back and always say that Julian was always a good guy. He would help you or at any point in time. He's very open-minded all the time, and
well, you have to be being a person of color.
You
gotta have open mind.
Because like we didn't have, I don't think we had like super similar upbringings or situations, and we were forced friends.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
If you really realize that, we were forced friends. Like I didn't run in the same circle he did, and he didn't run in my circle. But my girlfriend at the time in high school was friends with him. I didn't know why. I was like,
no one knows why they were friends.
Why are you friends with this guy? I was a different guy back then. So I come back from New Jersey and I'm like, well, why are we hanging out with him? What's going on? I was like, all right, cool, whatever. It doesn't matter. And we wound up being.
How long have you guys known each other?
Oh gosh,
Crap. Yeah.
since like
I don't know who counts anymore.
9. I'm gonna
Wait,
count for you.
Did you
It's
say
98.
Did you say freshman year?
Well,
How?
I mean, our high school wasn't like, to me, it wasn't super big. So
Nah, it
everybody
wasn't.
knew
It was
who
like-
everybody was.
So let's
We
just
knew
say
who
like
it was.
20 years.
Yes,
But I don't think we
yeah.
like
Wow, that's
interact-
awesome.
it's been 20
We
years.
didn't
Hey, that's cool.
interact
That's
until
so
like
cool. Can't say that about a
11th
lot of
grade,
people.
maybe.
Yeah, when we started hanging around each other more, it was
12th
when you
grade,
came.
actually.
When
When I came back from Jersey.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, so
12th
yeah,
grade, we
12th
started
grade.
hanging out.
Yeah,
I knew him before then, but
Right,
we didn't
right.
hang or anything like
At
that.
all.
That's
until
cool.
I came back,
Wow.
and that's why I was like, "Why is he in our circle?" I don't know. But then,
I was the
then
Tina
we
of
started
the
hanging out on a regular basis. This is my question. I had a question that I didn't want to tell you that I had for you. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
just spring it on you now.
group. Thanks so much.
Okay,
it
so-
has nothing to do with wardrobe choices, right?
No,
Because
not at all.
All right.
Oh my
Not at all.
gosh.
It has to
I'm
do-
curious about that.
it
You
has
keep
to do
bringing it
with
up.
Because I was bad.
Maybe we'll
I
get
mean,
to that. Go
everybody
ahead.
was. Have you seen these
Same.
pictures, bro?
But at
Like-
least some
God.
of the rest of you look like you can fit in, while me, go ahead.
Hey,
What's the
that's-
question?
Now I'm thinking
So
about your
cute.
wardrobe.
Yeah, we got to
Thank
get to
you
that.
so
I'm gonna
much.
go back to
Old
some
Navy
pictures.
was my friend. Go ahead.
All right. So this is I don't know why this matters to me,
Okay.
but I want to know.
All right.
I don't think I've ever asked you this. I used to go to your house every Monday night.
Yeah, you did.
Every Monday night we would go and watch wrestling. Big wrestling
Yes.
fan. Julian Winters loves
Yes.
WWE. I don't know if you still do, but you know.
It's still there, man.
I
It never
goes
goes away.
have
away.
not watched.
Me neither, but it's still somewhere in there. You know
I
what mean?
do follow one of my favorite people's Instagram.
Trish?
Aww.
Triple
Of
H.
course. Of
I
course.
follow. I just started following it because I saw that she had made more
Yeah,
appearances. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
she's been back on the show?
Yeah, she has. She's like, I wrestled in matches. She's like 40 something now.
Oh my God.
Who was it?
Trish
Trish Stratus.
Trish.
That was-
I thought you said
That
Triple
was
H,
my
and then you said
wrestler.
she. I'm like, whoa,
No,
wait
no,
a
no.
minute.
That was my
you
guy.
know.
Yeah, that's right. I was
My
like,
guy was Triple H. He liked Trish Stratus. and-
I like the Hardy Brothers,
Yeah.
Matt and Jeff.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were awesome.
They were good.
And we love Goldberg.
Yeah. We can talk wrestling for a long time.
Yeah,
used
we
to
watch we watch
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah, at work
Goldberg was a
sometimes.
spectacle.
So funny.
Goldberg was. Come on.
Okay.
Anyway,
I mean, yeah.
the question is though. I remember specifically that one of those nights, you told me
Oh,
you pretty much.
I think he knows.
I must have had a lot of soda. Go ahead. had a lot of
Dew. Comedy, Mountain
Mountain
Dew.
Dew.
Minute Maid. That go ahead.
That one of those nights, I feel like you came out to me and told me because before that, I assumed
I definitely had a lot of Minute Maid.
people
that night.
assumed,
Oh,
but I
my
feel. But you
gosh.
told me one of those nights. Do you remember this night?
It's funny. Okay, so before I answer your question,
Because no, my real question.
well,
is,
before I answer
That's not
your
even
real,
the real
question,
question.
my
I
real
know,
que-
right?
My real
It's like
question
Jeopardy.
am I the first person you came out to?
To answer the overall question, I definitely remember that. I mean, you kind of never forget that when you come out to your friends or your family. You never forget.
Oh my God.
Whether it's
yeah.
good or bad, you just never forget. So
Right.
I definitely distinctly remember. There's at that time it was just 5 of us in the group because
Tony wasn't
he
really
wasn't really
there.
around yet, but it was just 5 of us in the group. And so I remember having to come out 4 different times because I didn't tell it as a group,
Right.
because I had to gauge everybody's reaction on whether or not I got to stay or go. It's
Oh my
sad, I know. I
didn't
love
know
you
you was
all.
thinking that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Whether you got to
yes.
That's the
stay or
honest
go?
truth,
Yes.
though.
It's
Yeah.
it's
See,
a
remember
full
last-
honesty.
I have something
Yeah.
to say after that. So go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah.
God.
So I do remember I took a different tactic with each of you. I think you were the first one, actually.
Oh
I know. Jason.
Happy Pride Month,
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Happy Pride Month. I do
I feel
believe
like I
you.
won
I believe
something
you were
out of
first.
You
thing
just
at
want
that
to.
time.
You just want that. You want.
You
the
just
pride.
want that part.
Yeah.
feel like I
Hey,
won
do
something,
you want to know why I told you first? No, I'm not gonna do that.
I do. No, I do. Why?
I think you were the easiest for me to tell at the time
There we
because
go.
we
There it is.
had
He's
very.
so happy
We were
looking.
no. I mean, this might bring you down a peg though. We were very superficial with the things that we loved.
Okay.
We were very like talking about movies and sports and wrestling because I didn't watch sports, but things like that at the time. So it was easier, I think, for me to tell you because all of our conversations were just never. I mean, they were deep conversations,
Right,
but
but
we
just-
could still have superficial conversations. So yeah, I believe you were first. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
I'll
Oh,
take
I
that.
love
That's a W
that.
for me.
Let me
That's
just
so
add one thing to that
sweet.
before I forget. So when I worked at Kroger, I met this guy named Jalil. He's a black man.
Okay.
And he told me he was gay.
Uh-huh.
But let me kind of tell you how it happened. It was in a similar way.
Yeah.
So I'm from Rochester, New York, so upstate New York.
Oh, I'm upstate New York
Right.
too.
There you go.
Get out of here.
And
Oh my God.
this
Yeah.
was 2010, so a little while ago, and I haven't gone since then, actually, that was the last time I went back to New York, 2010. And that's the only time I've gone back since I moved. So I was 20, and I moved here in 2004. So it's been a little while. And I was like, hey, do you want to go with me? You know, we can, like, we drove together, and he was like, sure, you know. And we went up there, and it was fine. Like, he met my grandparents. We all hung out and had, like, pizza. It was great, you know. We went to, like, all the parks and stuff. Anyway, so we came back, and he's like, hey, let's go out to dinner sometime. Okay. We used to go to this Chinese restaurant, like, twice a month, every other week, and it was fun. And we went out, and, you know, he told me he was gay, but he told me he wanted to wait until after the trip just in case it made our friendship weird.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
And I was like, dude.
Yeah,
No,
well, that's some of the things that people.
It's a really real
Stabs
thing
me
that
in
you
my
go
heart.
through.
And I didn't
Stabs
know
in
it
my
was.
heart.
I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know you.
See, you remember
And then,
last
you know what's funny?
podcast?
Remember when?
Guys giving me crap for.
It wasn't give you. I get it.
We talked about like assuming your child's going to be cisgendered and how that can infect their brain and make them think that you're going to
Yeah,
you prefer them to be cis.
Oh yeah.
So even if you do support them, it's like if they come out, it's like, oh,
it's
that you wanted
all
me.
in the language. It's all.
Well,
in the
we
reaction
were
to
just
things.
we were saying like if you have just to kind of briefly go over for a minute, just kind of say what we're talking about. We were saying like if you have say I had a son,
Right.
and he was playing with kids and
Little
their
girl.
little girl in their play group or just anybody, and I was like, oh, is that your girlfriend? You know, you
Right.
naturally say that,
Yeah.
and
But that could like infect their brain and
yeah.
make
you know,
them
Fortune
think,
and I were kind of like, you know, like it's just a natural instinct to say that, and
because it's a natural instinct to assume everybody's going to be straight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, I understand
But it
both
is.
sides.
For certain people, it is.
I know it's
You
weird.
know?
It's kind of the same thing going back. Like, well, maybe this isn't the same, but there's this whole thing in the writing community where people describe the skin
I was
color.
about to go there. I was
This-
about to go there.
Of
where,
like, but
yeah.
the white is the
Yes,
assumed.
it's the default.
default.
It's a default.
So they
right
never
there, yeah.
describe that somebody's
they
white.
Never describe the white person
Yeah.
anything outside. If they, as long as they say you have certain color eyes or certain
Right.
color hair.
But then
Right.
whenever
That's the
there's a
default.
black person, like his mocha skin.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so
Where you
weird.
have to go into this
So weird.
full on.
Something
So
gets a whole
weird.
page.
Paragraph
weird.
page long description
To
of
make
what their
sure-
skin color looks like to
Yep.
make sure that the audience knows
Yep.
this is not a white
This
person.
is a black
Wow.
person in the story, and it's like,
nice.
okay, well, what's
I
the
get
skin
it.
color of
So-
the other person? It's like, oh, well, they're white. Didn't you assume that?
So-
Right.
It's like no.
As a person of color that's an author, would you like say this person's white? You wouldn't do that. Your brain wouldn't think that way,
well-
would it?
What?
Or do people assume that your character is
That
color?
I mean, people. It's like you were saying. It's ingrained. I think almost in through generations
yeah.
and generations of people automatically assuming things that's just how it goes. So I think even with writing, with like you said, with the child on the playground, it's this generational thing that you have to break. I've had to break. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
And
had
that's
to
what I
break.
believe. I believe
Same.
over
Yeah.
time, people's capacity to change that
Yeah.
will
yeah,
change.
but
I
we
don't
were
think it's there yet.
Yeah, we were
but
saying too,
over
like
time,
you know,
it should.
if Amanda and I have children, you know, because we were all younger, we know what we're thinking about at certain ages. You know, when they hit a specific age, like maybe like early teens or something, like 11, 12, 13, I'm going to sit them down and be like, hey, you know, if there's anything you want to talk to me, just talk about it, because I feel like a lot of parents don't tell their kids that.
You're gonna have to
Even
do that
parents
at
who
5.
I know they're not going to probably listen to me
Right.
because they're going to be young,
I don't know. I just
and they're
feel
going to
like,
be like, oh, you don't understand.
I just
but,
feel like it's a good idea
you know.
to just be super as neutral as you can be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just be like, when you get older, if you have a partner, then you can do this or that, or like
Yeah,
then
like,
it'll
you-
blah blah
you know,
blah.
with,
But instead of saying like my parents would always be like, when you get older, you and your husband. So I'd be like, okay.
And also the thing too, like if you're kids don't forget things that their parents say
Yeah.
without
They don't.
knowing that. Like they're watching the news or they say like this blah 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 or XYZ, and then kids think about that
Yep.
when they have
Yep.
an unconventional sexuality.
Yep.
And
They
then
do.
they're like, oh man, I remember when my whatever.
Yep.
They said this when I was 12.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't.
And I can't.
you know.
I mean, I'm against.
I have a lot of friends
cisgendered,
like
so
that. I don't know if they'll ever say anything.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like to actually have these thoughts, but from having so many queer friends, like just that it eats away at you when you're like, oh God, how are people going to react? How are people going to react? I just like, and it's so scary. So any little thing that you say, it's like, even if they didn't mean it in that way or they didn't feel that way, it still makes a big impact. So you got to be, careful. It's nice that I think the world is headed in that direction though, where things are becoming a lot more neutral.
I think it is too.
And it's kind of like, for in books, it's like if you want to have a diverse cast, then you should try to find a way to describe everybody's skin color or ethnicity or whatever, because then you'll have a diverse cast, and there'll be lots of different people being represented.
But
It's
I will
fine.
tell you, the hate is still out there, heavy.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
gross. Oh yeah,
Super heavy.
gross.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it disgusts me more and more the older I get. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I think there's an article I read recently about the way that they are removing certain books, LGBTQ books or authors, written books, and they may be in schools, elementary schools or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And they've been removing them. Or there was a petition, 55 books got removed from the library and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
gross.
and their description of it is the sexuality or something else. I forget the exact description, but they made it seem like, now not reading these books, I don't know what it said in them. Maybe it was too gross to be in
I highly doubt it.
a school, but I doubt it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
they're
in
not
my
gonna
mind, I
publish
doubt it.
a
Like, how
YA
did you
book if it's-
like you wouldn't put this book that you know has this scene
Yeah,
in
it's
it?
not gonna be like
I mean,
50
we
Shades of
read
Grey.
like
in a
Macbeth
middle school
and stuff.
library.
That's pretty
so
brutal.
I'm assuming
Pretty
the
brutal
books
stuff.
that they're removing is probably not what they're saying that they are.
Yeah,
And it's really because they're this fear, this whole community of people who have this fear over queer people
Yeah,
and stuff
it's
like
gross.
that.
Yeah. It's like if we sneeze, you're going to
exercise
catch
their
it.
power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
think I like to try to think of it as like this day and age. It's like to try to pull an analogy out of thin air. It's like if you have like a tea kettle and it's full of water, but it's not. The burner isn't on, and the water is all the like racism and like homophobia that's been in our culture and society for so long. But then when you turn the burner on, what comes out? Steam comes out, so you see a lot more of it. But that's because that ideology of like racism and homophobia and stuff is like under fire right now.
Right.
It's on, like, people are questioning it. They're challenging it for the first time ever. So I think it's always been there. People aren't more hateful than they've ever been. But now that it's like under fire and people are challenging it, people are loud and they're getting defensive and they
reactive
feel like
and-
they have to defend themselves about it. And there's also so many people, like, you know, people who are in the public eye who are open about very like just xenophobic things in general and really bigoted things. So people feel more comfortable saying it, but it's still the same like amount of it as it has always been. But eventually, you know, if you boil that water, it's all gonna evaporate. So hopefully we can.
So when
have
you
that
came
happen.
out in like the late 90s?
No. Gosh, no.
To your
It was,
friends, right?
it was
Or-
in the 2000s.
Yeah,
It was
2001 or two, something like that.
So
maybe a little later.
and you were in Georgia, right?
Yes.
So-
yes.
It's the early 2000s. It wasn't, you know, we didn't have the internet and people to show that they're comfortable with it. You had more people to outwardly say they were uncomfortable with it. So you were, you know, a gay black man in Georgia, in the deep South.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's
Some heroes don't work.
Yeah.
that must have been
It was fun.
hard. But you
It
said
was
you had a
fun.
supportive. You said your family
Well,
supports.
no. I have
No?
supportive family currently.
Oh, okay.
I will say, I mean, and it took a long time for me to come out to like. I still haven't come out to all my family because
Oh my god.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're in, you know, we're
Yeah,
in the South.
unfortunately.
You know, there are people who are still
That's-
like that. Their
that's
religion
horrible.
and their idealism and
horrible.
everything is just still there. Which, hey, cool, do you? Just far away from me.
Yeah.
That's
So
fair, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I came out to my friend group before I came out to my family because they were my family.
They
my
hang out.
friend
They
group,
hang
yeah.
out with you all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. They, you know, they who made me most comfortable. I'll never forget. You know, in high school, where one of my closest friends, Angela, we were at my sister's soccer game, and she was like, "Just stand up and shout and be you," kind of thing. And I was like terrified.
Like you're
But I mean,
Easy for you to say.
but like, so they were always my friends and family. But yeah, it was rough. Like, especially back then, like you said, like the internet of course existed, but it wasn't like now where
Yeah, they
there
didn't have,
was- there
they
was
didn't-
no
they didn't have
there
like
was no
Facebook
Instagram,
events,
yeah.
you know, where it was
Yeah,
like,
and back then,
you know.
Facebook was still strictly for college
Exactly.
students.
Yeah, college,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was not currently in college, so I had no access to Facebook.
Yeah.
So I
And
didn't.
it wasn't
have
really
it.
a thing in MySpace, right? There wasn't like it was,
I didn't.
they didn't have like those kind of
no,
things.
I mean, I didn't even. I wasn't even on MySpace. I
Wow.
was thought MySpace was like for like people who had music, and I didn't have
Yeah.
music,
Oh,
so
wow,
I
yeah.
wasn't on MySpace.
MySpace
MySpace was
is
for a lot of
Live
it was
Journal,
it was a banger for
Zanga.
music.
Yeah, the live journal I was on. Yeah.
yeah, same.
But no one knew.
It's for all the moody kids. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it
So
was
funny.
weird. I still remember so well, like going to Blockbuster, and this kind of ties back to, you know, like your question, like going to Blockbuster, and I could only go at like 8:00 at night if I wanted to pick up a queer movie because
Oh, wow.
otherwise there were just too many eyes on you.
You're in
and
line,
they
and you're
had
like,
that
"Oh, geez."
one little shelf, that
Right,
little skinny
right.
shelf of like 5 movies.
Right.
And I just didn't want to bring that kind of attention because I mean, as much as I love the South, it's still
there
very,
sometimes, yeah.
very bigoted.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was tough. It was tough. And I was very much like this person who would go from regular me to that's with my friends and laughing at certain things and telling all the gay jokes to
A lot of those.
the other guy who is just very like shoulders back, perfect posture, doesn't say anything wrong, I didn't make eye contact with certain people for too long and things like that, and you're super friendly with people because I didn't know, like, when I walked away, what might happen, kind of thing.
Oh my god!
So
You know what's funny? It's crazy. I feel like a bad friend, but I never thought of any of those things because when you were with us, you're just you.
Yeah, I was pretty terrible. Yeah,
You know what I mean? I never thought about what it was like when you weren't with us.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like crap.
Don't
Like,
feel
you know,
like crap, but with you all, I felt safe. It's like no one was. I could be me because no one was going to attack me. Like these were very tough people around me. But without not around people. Yeah, I had to be very. And it's still. Let's not get it confused. It's still that way. It's still that way around. Some places I still go and I have to be this perfect version of me, because you just don't know. It's
dangerous
Are
out there.
people? Do they hate me because I'm gay or do they hate me because I'm black?
Right.
Like
Right.
which
You
one do
don't
you hate me
know. Oh,
for
man.
today?
You
So,
don't know.
or is it both today? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can't
that's
imagine.
it's such a very real thing. But tying it back to like your question about like the books and banning that, I've seen that. I think I know what you're talking about, because there was a wonderful agent by the name of Eric Smith who, when he saw that, he said, hey, our authors, help me out. Send me books. I'm going to repopulate this. I'm not sure if it was I think it was a library. It was a library.
Yeah, it was a library.
He was like, help me out. I'm going to repopulate this with all these queer books.
Good.
And I actually, donated to that. So, yeah,
Oh, yeah?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
it's such a real thing that it still happens. It happens not even just with the queer books. It happens with books that deal with social issues, like Angie Thomas's "The Hate You Give" is still banned in so many
Ew.
places,
Ew.
and it's like,
Ew.
it's like, do you understand how important this book is? Books like that,
so
like that,
important.
like Dear Martin, like Allegedly by
Yes.
Tiffany D. Jackson. Like
love
these
it.
books are so important.
They are monumental.
So so
Yeah.
I definitely know what you're talking about, and it's wild. People, I just had that question the other day. They're like, have people reacted negatively to your book because it's about queer people? I'm like, no, they haven't, but they have reacted negatively for people asking me crazy questions like this.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, like this
Just
is.
talk to me like I'm a
I'm a
like,
normal person.
Right.
Like,
I'm
is
a
this?
writer.
Am I
just like
abnormal?
anybody else? Like people
yeah.
used to react badly to Harry Potter and think that it was satanic, but nobody
Oh,
ever
yeah.
asked her that.
Right.
Like, yeah,
My parents, I could not
Yeah.
watch
I
it
know.
at my parents'
Oh yeah,
house.
magic.
That was the thing.
Magic
Yeah,
was the devil in my
exactly.
house too.
that was the thing I only learned that was a thing because I moved to Georgia, and they're like, "Oh, I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter when I was little." And I'm
because
like,
it was the devil. I was like,
Why
what?
not?
Yeah, my mom
Yeah.
did the same thing to me.
So
That's
I
so
couldn't-
I
weird.
couldn't watch the movies. Like,
So weird. Well, I am so glad that you have a voice and a platform.
Yeah,
because
for
it's-
sure.
We need so many more.
Speaking of that, I wanted to ask you this question. I think we're going to wrap up soon here, but being that you have this voice and this platform, and you understand the importance of these books being out, do you have like a goal in mind or something that you want to impact the culture with personally? Like, regardless of as a unit, and we get all of these people out here, do you have a goal yourself that through your books you want to impact or make a change or do something to affect the community and younger people coming up and things? Like, do you have something in your mind that, hey, this is my goal? At the end of the day, yes, I want to sell these books. I want to get out
it'd be
here.
nice.
I want us to be out there, but at the end of the day, I want to be remembered because I'm going to make this happen, or I'm going to affect this change or normalize this or something. Have you ever even got to that
question. That's it changes all the time.
Yeah?
It's a great I mean, I think with everybody, like, your goal always changes. It changes all the time. Like when I first before my book was published, I had to go through an interview with my publisher.
Right.
Yeah, you couldn't just like
Oh, you don't just hire them.
No.
Yeah.
They interview
Wow.
me, which I
Okay.
love because some people are trash fires.
Oh, yeah.
They can
Yeah,
write good
yeah,
books
yeah.
and then they can turn on that
Right.
evil spirit, and you're like, yikes.
Yes.
So is it, bad news.
And I told them, I said, I just want to reach 5 queer teens.
Oh, I love
Just
you.
that's it. I just need 5 people like me growing
See
up.
themselves.
Yeah, to see themselves who knew that they deserved a happy ending.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And so that's my current goal. That's the Julian Winters mark right now, is to ensure that, because my books are always happy endings.
Good. Yeah, there's enough
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
endings in the world.
There's great books out there that show you the real dark side of things. There are great books that touch on social justice issues. There's great books that talk about our history, which are so important, things that we can't forget. But I want to make my mark in the sense that people know that you don't have to earn a happy ending, which is like people always act like, oh, I got to earn their respect and I got to earn their acceptance. You don't have to earn your happy ending. When you're born, you deserve a happy ending.
That
You deserve a
so
happy ending. So that's my current goal, is that people know that the people should know they deserve these things, and not that they have to earn them, not that they have to walk around with this great posture and talk a certain way and whatnot to be loved. They just be you.
I love that so much. And I think what I'm getting just from the small amount that you shared about your novel and your characters and in the themes that you find important is just that you want to write stories for, Black people and queer people that show that you can have a normal life. You don't have to every single arc that you read about is going to be this social justice arc, that you're fighting against something, that you're, dealing with homophobia if you're queer, or you're dealing with racism and the system if you're Black. It's like you can have a normal life and be a normal character and have normal hijinks and misadventures.
Yeah, and all the things that happen to all these other popular characters that were never portrayed, that you never saw as yourself because they were portrayed their way. You can be the Harry Potter. Or
your
can
arc
be the
doesn't always have to be like that. You're fighting this label that you have. Like
it's definitely not,
because you're more than that.
Right. It's not always about your coming out story. It's all about sometimes it's just about, falling on your face trying to talk to that person you like.
I love it.
That is something you need to cherish just as much as you cherish all the other big wins, because that's a big win in itself.
I love it
For
so
sure.
much.
Is How to Be Remy Cameron a retelling of our high school?
No.
Are you sure?
The actual setting environment, I very much drew upon our high school, except I made it bigger because our high school was tiny back then. It's gotten bigger. Yeah, it's gotten much bigger. But the rest of it, no, I didn't because I cherish our high school as it was, and it was high school was, as much as it sucked all the way up till senior year, it was still a lot of great memories for me. So yeah, I didn't do that.
Well, you definitely captured the feel.
Yeah, well,
which I appreciate.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's a
I don't care
universal,
what high school you went.
Yeah, it's a universal theme across the board. High school is rough.
Yeah, it's an awkward place to be as a human.
Yeah, and we as an educational system, as far behind we are the rest of the world, we still don't make it any easier for our kids to want to learn.
Yeah,
so I definitely
sucks for everybody.
I definitely talk about that in there. Yeah.
It's a great book. How to Be Remy Cameron, coming out in September. Correct?
Yes, September 10th. September 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't wait to read it.
Anybody got any more questions you want to ask Julian before I hear his agent in my ear?
Yeah, my agent is on vacation. She's having a great time.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Awesome.
Good. All right,
This is
man.
so
Look,
wonderful.
I'm so glad you came on the
God,
show.
this was amazing.
I want to tell you again,
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you of everything you've done. You are an award-winning author.
It's
Okay,
great.
like a real deal one.
Yeah, I'm no longer that I quit my job and this is what I want to be.
Right. It's time. It's here. This book. I hope everybody goes out and gets it. It doesn't matter if you're queer. If you are a person who went to high school, read this book.
Yeah, this book is
Be,
definitely universal themes. Yeah.
Yeah. How to Be
Love
Remy
it.
Cameron, coming out September 10th. Where's the book release going to be?
Just settled on that the other day. It's gonna be at the same place it was.
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna be
I
at
like
Little
that
Shop
place.
Stories. Little Shop Stories in Decatur is awesome. They're awesome. But it won't be the week that it comes out. It'll be the week after.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
but yeah, I keep you
That'd
up.
be so
I'll be
awesome.
there.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
good.
Yeah,
I love it.
That'd be
very
awesome.
much.
Yeah, Space
Yes.
Space going to be down there to
Yes.
support, man, for sure. Please, Julian Winters, tell everybody where they can hear from you, where your books are going to be sold, what your social media, give them the whole spiel.
Oh wow! This is the part I really need an agent for because I'm not good at this part. You can find me Online at julianwinters.com. Just julianwinters.com. Don't do the www. That might take you some other place that I have nothing to do with. Just julianwinters.com. You find me on Twitter at julianw_rights. That's Julian W_rights. I can't remember. Can somebody pay to get me the Julian Winters? And on Instagram, you can find me at Winters Julian. And if you want to go buy any of my books, they're online everywhere. It's on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever they sell books. Yay. You can get it. You can get it on Apple and all that good stuff. And as far as stores, you can find me at major cities. You can find them at Barnes & Noble. And then if you're here in Atlanta, you can go to Little Shop of Stories, Indicator. You can go to Karis Bookstore, Indicator, or Read It Again Books.
Cool, man. Everybody go check that stuff out, man. We really appreciate you having. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
The Safe Space had a great time with you. And maybe we'll do it again in the future when your next 7 books come out. I don't know. Or when you write that trilogy I was talking about.
It's going to be a trilogy about wrestling, too. Yeah, I got it.
There you
love
go.
it. Yeah. You know what? We could contact Trish.
We could.
Trish.
Listen. All right, off there. I'm going to hunt Trish Stratus down. Go for it.
All right. Once again, that's it for us today. We had a great time. Please check us out at 52s and Smoke. This episode will be out on Tuesday. If you're looking, it'll be when you're listening to this, it'll already be out. Either way, follow me. Tell your friends about us. Instagram at 52s and Smoke. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, all of that like that. Subscribe, interact with us. Maybe you'll be able to meet Julian one day. Whatever it is.
It'd be the lamest experience of your life, but I look forward to it.
All right. So, we'll catch y'all next time. Peace, and I love you.